Hi everyone, the Lone Wolf here. Welcome back to EVE Talk, your weekly look at the market in EVE Online. And if you have not seen the O7 show yet, you really should, because there was some awesome news for us market guys. CCP is going to come out with some sort of monthly economic newsletter. We can also add our own suggestions for metrics that they should add there. I think their first aim was basically ISK in, ISK out, ISK velocity, but then also destruction and import exports from different regions. So it looked quite interesting, and hopefully it'll give us a better handle on the economy in general, because that's always very difficult to gauge just from what's happening in JITA. So I look forward to that newsletter and to try and cover that and dissect that myself a little bit with you guys as well, of course. So we are here for this week's market look, of course, and I'll start out with plex. That is unfortunately not very good news. That's at 1 minute, because plex have gone up to almost 1,260,000,000 ISK, so still on the way up. There is quite a bit of pressure on this. Look at that increase in price though. It cannot keep going up like that indefinitely, but it's always been very difficult to find or to predict the top of an increase in plex like this. So at some point CCP may interfere. Oh, god damn it. I think that the music's actually a little bit high here once again. Let's put that back down to 15. That's hopefully going to be better. So plex definitely breaking 1.25 billion. Are we on our way to 1.3? That could be, you can see some data points there, but the graph has yet to reach that. So I think it's definitely possible that plex will top out at around 1.3. I mean, we're talking 500 million increase from 6 months ago, where it was 800 million. That was obviously the previous bottom, where I bought a few plex, but I've sold in between, so I only have one left, which I think I'll sell, or maybe I'll keep. I don't know. It's always a good idea to keep plex in the cargo holds, just in case something happens to your account and you need to reactivate. But yeah, 1.3 billion, I don't think we'll go above that. That's my gut feeling on this increase in price here. If I look at the chart, again, I could be completely wrong, because last week we were here and then I would have probably said that 1.2 billion would be the top. So be careful with what I say, take it all with a grain of salt. But plex is super hot at the moment. There's bound to be a huge amount of speculation of people trying to milk everything they can out of their plex stocks before deciding that they're going to dump a number of them. The problem is that the stocks could be so dispersed and so large already. I read in one of the Reddit threads that there could be as much as 200,000 plex sitting in people's cargo holds, that any decrease in price will just be snatched up by people, by willing buyers right away. So 1.3 billion almost though is quite a bit. That's becoming very hard to make in 30 days, especially if you don't have the skills to fully master an activity. So yeah, plex really high at the moment. I think this could be the highest they've ever been. Where will they go next? It's going to be very interesting, and I would love your input on the plex market. But I think a lot of it is guessing and speculation. Here's the multiple pilot training certificates doing something very similar. Data points close to 1.3, in fact above 1.3, and also climbing to 125. So right in sync with plex itself. And then a quick look at the body resculpt, also going back up, but from 220 million. So we had a nice little spike here, but this one is not moving in line with plex. Next up, we'll move on to some minerals, and that will be 410. 410, there we go. We'll start out with titanium. Not bad for miners, and very interesting to me if we look at where we started 6 months ago. We started at 6 ISK, and now we're already back up to 570 after bottoming out due to the mineral changes. So what is possible is that enough activity has been displaced from HiSec to nullsec, trying to take advantage of like Mexite and Zydrine, but now that those are coming back down, the activity in HiSec might have decreased enough so that these are making a comeback. Overall, this is very good news for HiSec miners. I mean, you're definitely getting a lot more for your Veldspar every hour now. So I would say that this is not looking all that bad. Part of it, again, could be preparations for the citadels, people stocking up on minerals. I know I have a decently large stock, that's relative of course for just a single player, but I'm definitely ready for like a medium boss citadel, and I'm probably ready for a large citadel, just resource wise, and I think a lot of people are preparing like that as well. Here is Pyrite, managing to get above 11.4 once again. As you can see, hesitated a little bit last week, going back down to 11.2, but we're back on the uptick. The 20-day moving average clearly going up here once again. And maybe we'll touch on supply demand here. There is decent supply, 500,000, but here that's actually an older order, 1.6 billion units as well. So be careful with Pyrite. I actually do think that the market is willing to dump them, although it's 1165. Where is that on the chart? That would be right here on the chart. So I guess someone must have like just bought them out or something. But no, but the buyers are already at 1164. Nope, the chart seems to be lagging behind just a little bit. So this should actually go up and break 11.6 ISK, which puts it a little bit more in line with what's been happening with Tritanium over the last week. Here supply demand wise, look at that, 1 billion, 300 million, 400 million, pretty much bigger than most of the sell orders here. So I honestly think that Pyrite is going to go up, but at this point it's definitely going to hesitate as well because of the more supply that's coming in. So be a little bit careful, but also keep in mind that the chart is lagging behind. Here's Mexalon then. Lovely. Heading back towards 58 ISK, which we started out 6 months ago. So it was a bad few months for the Isaac miners, relatively speaking. I mean, I still felt like it was somewhat okay. But we're coming back. Right here you can see that Mexalon followed suit after Tritanium. 56.9 puts us very close to the 58 where we started out with, and the demand here, that's still 21 million units, still 100 million units less than 24 hours ago, way bigger than the supply side here. So I think people are understanding that the citadels are coming. In fact, they're coming in a big expansion once again, which will have its trailer normally, which will hopefully bring back some hype to the game as well, you know, bring back the long-term vision. At least that's what CCP Eagle wants to do with bringing back the expansions. And so the preparation for the citadels, I think, is what driving especially the Isaac minerals back up. I'm just gonna throw that in here as a quick note now that I think about it. A winter expansion would put us back in line with winter plex speculation, going way up, spiking at or just after the winter expansion and then going back down. So keep that in mind. This could be a return to the yearly plex cycle as well. So it's definitely something that I have to keep in mind now that I just thought about that. So next up here is Isogen, also trying to climb back, but doing so in at least several stages now. As you can see, 4 pullbacks, but the 20-day moving average doing quite okay, heading above 115 ISK. Are we selling for more than 120? No. So it does look like 120 could be where the market says that's enough for Isogen, which is surprising because I always tend to get low amounts of Isogen from what I mine, especially in Galente space. Yeah, definitely we made up quite a bit of ground back from our bottom, which was well at like 97 ISK, below 100. So not too bad. Started at 130, now we're back towards 120. If Isogen has a little bit of legs under pressure from Tritanium and Mexalon, in a few weeks we could be right back where we started 6 months ago. So could be awesome, definitely something to keep an eye on. Next up here we've got Noxium markets. That one, unfortunately, it tried last week. Again, it tried before that, a few weeks before that as well, to get back out of its rut. But no, that is still at just 500 ISK, which is very low, honestly, for Noxium. So 507 here, 490. You can put a buy orders close to below 500 ISK, and you'll probably pick that Noxium up. So I guess that Noxium still has a lot of pressure from the nullsec dump that's happening at the moment. That's my guess here, because if we take a look at Megasite, that one is still slowly going down as well, where we had tops of 2200 ISK. We are now selling it for just above 1500 ISK. Buyers are at 1485, so I guess 1500 is where where Megasite could settle, but you never know with these markets. They've been really volatile in the last 6 months already, although being in very sharp trends here because of the mineral rebalance. But this is quite a bit of a pullback actually, you know, starting 6 months ago at around 800, then more than doubling in price, and now we're back at 1500, which is less than double where we started 6 months ago. So it turns out that everything is balancing out over the course of 6 months here, and that means for Nalsec that there is quite a bit of pressure on it to go lower. So pretty interesting stuff in my opinion. Here is the Zydrine chart here, very similar, in fact doing the exact opposite as Isogen oscillating, so hesitate, trying to go up but constantly having that pressure, probably from big supply trying to take advantage of the higher prices. And here in Zydrine we're going down in slow stages, every time apparently hesitating once they reach another clear price here. So we start out close to 1600, went back down to 1400, the market hesitated a little bit, went back down to 1200, hesitation a little bit, went back down close to 1000 ISK, but still the trend on the 20-day moving average is pretty clear, it's on its way down. Let's see where the buy orders are, 1070 and 1113 or 1114 for the sellers, really small margin. If supply keeps being this high with 1 million units here, 3 million units here, another 3 right here, the pressure is still on, honestly, for Zydrine, and we could actually go down below 1000 by next week. I think it's in the cards if this trend continues like this. Interesting stuff in my opinion, but basically the minerals are finding their way, whereas the high-sec minerals have made up most of their ground, so you're back to earning what you used to earn for high-sec mining. The Nalsec ones have had to give away a lot of the ground that they made, despite the fact that the production costs of these minerals have doubled pretty much across the board. So a doubling of the price is sort of normal, but it's a little bit below that, from 600 to around 1000, and for Megasite from 800 to around 1500 in price. So overall this should be quite okay for Tech 1 ships. As I've said, the bigger ships have probably had an impact from the Nalsec minerals. They're a bit more expensive, the smaller ones just a small tiny impact. So let's take a look at that. 1240 for Tech 1 ships. We'll start with the Armageddon. That one clearly went up over 6 months, but is back on a stable period, finding its price of around 200 million, which I think is okay for a Tech 1 battleship. It's not too cheap. That's something you have to be careful in a sandbox game, careful of in a sandbox game as well. Don't make stuff just clearly throw away, and something like a battleship should actually still be something worth some money that you'll throw away. It is after all the biggest non-capital ship that you'll field in combat, so 200 million for that, honestly it feels quite reasonable. Next up here we've got a Caracal, which is oscillating around 11.5 million, went as low as 10.5, which used to be the price around 6 months ago, but so we're up about 1 million, you know, that's quite reasonable. 11 million for a cruiser, I think that's an okay price as well. Next up here we've got the Dominics. Again, it tried to go down to 190, but over these 6 months you start at around 200, you end at, well, 190 here, 195, something like that. But I would put the price of the Dominics on average close to 195 million, which is just below the 200 million of the Armageddon. Very reasonable price for a battleship. And keep in mind here, the lowest bottom was 190, the highest price was 210 million, and those are the absolute extremes of the charts. 20 million, around 10% margin over 6 months on an average price of 195, I think does mean that we are seeing a very stable product here, despite all the changes done to minerals and all the volatility there. So I think that overall this is good news. Here's the Drake then, costing around 54 million at the moment, slowly going up over 6 months because, well, the Drake was in a very bad position after all the nerfs it got. The price went up a little bit, I think, due to the mineral changes, and now it actually has a little bit of momentum because of the changes to the launchers. So the Drake, an extremely popular battle cruiser, we saw that from the dev block on the rebalancing. of battle cruisers, and I don't think that's going to end anytime soon. It's just a really good platform, very accessible as well skill wise. And so yeah, 54 million, honestly not that bad for one of the most popular battle cruisers out there. Here's the Mauler then, this is a cruiser, so 11 million for that. Extremely stable except for 2 spikes, so right at the same price range as a Caracal. Here's the Myrmidon then, you're paying 55 million. We're coming off of just another spike here, so someone may have made a move. Supply demand could be interesting here. Yeah, supply came alive. I think this is how I should read this, because all of this is less than 24 hours old, more than the front page. That means that people saw the price shoot up to 58 million, which is not that bad, came in with their Myrmidons to try and sell them, and so this is why you're seeing here 56 million. Then you've got 10, 9 of them. Here we get another 3, 9, 5, 8, all of them, 3, 3, 3, 9. Again, this shows that the industrial potential for Tech 1 ships is quite high. They can respond to any price spike. They'll keep the prices in check, but it is also not overly abundant that they're constantly bringing the prices down once a ship has not been destroyed too much over a week or so. These are flown, they're used, and they're in a good spot, I think, when it comes to production and destruction. So I like it. I like this Tech 1 market. CCP has done a really good job to make this accessible, yet not completely worthless either. Here's the Oracle then, tier 3 battle cruisers, very good glass cannon ships, you know, they have battleship weapons, so it's normal that they cost a little bit more, 81 million for an Oracle, settling at a higher price. Nice to see a little bit of stability here at the tail end, although it was also not bad news that you could have picked up some Oracles below 80 million for a while either. So I'm quite happy with where the Oracle is. It's definitely better, at least in fleet situations, than something like a Drake or a Myrmidon. It has more potential. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's just straight up better, but it has more damage potential, and so it costs a little bit more. To me, this seems quite logical. Here's the Raven then. That one has actually been around 184 million for most of the time now, spiking up right here. Let's see what the sellers are at. 192. We're empty of Ravens. But I think by next week we'll once again see that industrial response. It is a battleship, so it could take 2 weeks, because, well, it's quite a bit more in volume. But I think that we'll see this fill up quite quickly. We'll see the pressure on the price, and this spike could go up as maybe 192, something like that, and then we'll go back down after that. So don't worry too much, but I would say if you want a Raven, wait 1 to 2 weeks, and then you'll probably be able to pick one up at a more normal price of like 185, something like that. Here's the Stabber then. Again, that's a standard cruiser. You're paying 10.6 million for that. Has been very stable, so this all looks quite normal. Here's the Tornado, another tier 3 battle cruiser, so battleship weapons, a bit more expensive, also became more expensive with the mineral changes. You're paying 73 million for those. But again, showing decent stability for a Tech 1 ship. Here's the Typhoon then, the Minmatar Tech 1 battleship. And that was actually a little bit cheaper, 176 million. I'm a bit surprised by that, because the Typhoon is definitely not a bad battleship. This is, I think, comparable to something like a Dominic's or something like an Armageddon. I mean, it's got, let me quickly show the attributes here. It's got 125 drone base, you've got 5 heavies or 5 sentries, it's got missile damage, it's got the possibility to go with a decent tank as well. So yeah, if you're looking for a cheaper PvE option, I would say look at the Typhoon, because honestly it's not that bad of a battleship, and it is going for a lower. What I may need to do some research on is, does the Typhoon just cost less material to make? Could that be like a bit of a Minmatar trade, a little bit cheaper but a little bit less in minerals as well? I'll look into that. If you have the answer, of course, feel free to post that in the comments. And then finally the Vexor, another cruiser, 11.4 million, so right at the right price range and showing decent stability in the last few weeks and even months as well. Tech 1 market looking quite healthy despite all of the changes that have been happening in the mineral market. Alright, next up Tech 2, which will be 20 minutes. Let's see if there is some trade potential, because all of that stability is of course not good for the wallet. Unless you're in the production cycle. If you're looking to trade, you're looking for more volatility, and here is the basilisk. Lovely 3 spikes in the last few months here, not bad. Bottoms seem to be 175, that seems to be a trigger, and now we have already gone back down to 185 million. Let's see where the buyers are at, 180. I would say it's still a little bit early, but what I don't like is that you can see the chart hesitating here at the tail end. Could it be that this is going to be the new bottom for the basilisk? It is possible, but personally I would wait for a buy opportunity closer to 175. At that point, considering this chart, you definitely have the option, the opportunity that will come at some point to sell them for a good profit. Look at that, 215, 230 million and 210 million. If you can buy them for 175, that's not bad at all. Next up here we've got the Cerberus, starting at 190, ending at 200. A few spikes up to 230, so 190 to 230, that's not so bad. But again, a little bit too high, I would say, to be able to buy, unless the buy orders are at 188, which is below 190. Honestly, this is starting to be in an interesting territory. I think Cerberus for the buyers. Are people competing with that? Not that many. Yeah, Cerberus, honestly, take a look at that if you want a bit of a medium-term investment. I think that could be interesting. Next up here, we've got the Enyo. Alright, an assault frigate that's trying to show some volatility, some short-term volatility. So you can see it started here at 21 million, went up to 23 million. So that's 10%. Could you make a little bit of trade money on that? Yes. Is it worth the risk? I think, considering you need quite a few volumes of these frigates to actually make some decent money, I don't feel it is. Went back down to 20 and now it's back up once again, but it has not even reached 23 million. So assault frigates, honestly, I don't like these that much for trades. Next up here, we've got the Guardian. That's pretty damn good here. Started at 130, I think that's close to the trigger. Went up to 165 million. Pretty decent profit right there, but came back down very quickly to 135. So where are the buyers? At 123, I think you can definitely consider buying some Guardians at this point, waiting for another spike. But as you can see, you do have good opportunities for good trades in this Tech 2 market, because buying below 130, selling at 165, 45 million profit on a single one of these Guardians. If you can trade them at the right moment, I think that's not bad. Here's the Hound chart then. Again, showing the potential, but hesitating at 17 million. I would put the trigger closer to 16 million. So buy orders below that, I think, are considered good. 16.3, still quite a bit of supply to chew through. It's just too early to make a move on the Hound. Here's the Ishtar, showing some volatility despite being such a popular ship. So you could have bought them below 160, sold them at 175 last week, but now we're on our way back down. We're right in between them. So it's basically too late to trade in Ishtars. And as I've said, they're actually so popular and they've been in the nerf crosshairs. They could still be that I would not personally make a move on this market myself. Next up, the Manticore, again showing a nice spike here up to 32 million, but now stable at 24. You would need buy orders below 22, I think, to be interesting, and they're not there yet. Supply is pretty big as well, so nope on that. Here's the Nemesis. That's a lovely little double spike where you could have bought them as low as 18 or 18.5 million, sold them at 22. Decent profit on that one. And then here going down to 19.5, where are the buyers? 18.8, still a little bit too high, you know, below 18.5. Yes, this is still above that, so a lot of them need to trace back a little bit more than what they are at the moment. Here's the Oneros going down, chart heading towards 140. That could start to be interesting because the buyers are definitely below 140. Not that many buy orders anymore, definitely no recent ones. I would take a look at the Oneros if you have some money to spend. Same with Cerberus. Next up, the Purifier here. Data point starting to go pretty low as well. 16 million for the buyers. Yeah, this is more interesting. If you can buy stealth bombers for 16 million and you have a spike here up to 26 million for a sell opportunity, I think that could be interesting. Although keep in mind, one spike over 6 months is not that much. So I would say don't risk your entire wallet on the Purifier. Here's the Scimitar working on a 6-month high of 150. Not bad considering that you could have bought them for like 115 million. Although it took a little bit of time for the Scimitar to actually reach that point. But if you have them, if you've actually been buying on these opportunities right here, then this could be the right time for you to try and sell some Scimitars at a nice profit. So a sell opportunity right here. And then the Vengeance here, again, assault frigates. That volatility is a bit too slow, although below 16 up to 20 is not that bad. It is the only good spike I've been able to see in the assault frigates. And here, as you can see, it went up from 19 to just below 21 million. So again, less than 10%. I don't really like that. It's just too narrow a band to be trading in these. So I don't like the assault frigates myself. That's it for the Tech 2 market. Next up, Tech 3. 25.55 for that. Let's take a look at that market. So we can see the Confessor finally stabilizing at 42 million after going up in price. So we used to be able to buy them for 34, now they're at 42. This is still quite reasonable for something like a tactical destroyer. Honestly, for quite a bit of activities, these are comparable almost to battle cruisers. Not in HP, but in damage potential. Honestly, these are really good ships. And so 42 million for a tactical destroyer. I think that they will still see plenty of use despite a slight increase in price here. Here's the Hecate then. What are the sellers going for here? 42 million, right on the money, exactly the same as a Confessor. Here's the Jackdaw, 43 million, 1 million more for a missile ship. I think that's actually pretty normal, considering that will probably have easier damage application than something like the Hecate and the Confessor with lasers. So yeah, Jackdaw, 43 million seems pretty reasonable. And then finally the Zwepel right here, settling at below 46 million. Yeah, 45 million. That could be because it's maybe the best sniper platform or something like that. But still, if you look at the supply numbers here, 110, 15, 70, 71, 48, 43, and still the latest orders coming in are 66 and 77. The pressure is on for the Zwepel. I would not be surprised if that one will actually slowly go down a little bit towards the price of the other ones. Let's take a look at some of the supply in the Jackdaw here. As you can see, about half of the Zwepel, so I think people are recognizing the higher price here. But we still have 47, 36, 17, it's still quite big in numbers. Here's the Hecate numbers, 24, 70, 11, again less than the Zwepel because it's only 42 million, but still pretty high, still quite a bit of pressure on there. And here's the Confessor, ouch, 199, 179, 30, 39, 83, 20. That's quite a few Hecates Confessors, I'm sorry, brought to the market, putting definite pressure on the price to not go above 42 million for now. Next up, the cruisers. Here is the Legion, going up to 150 after a bottom of 140. So I guess people said, okay, 140 quite affordable, 150 let's buy everything out. I think that's what happened last week, and now people tried maybe to have a bit of an opportunity here, bumped it up to 154, but as you can see now there's quite a few of them coming to the market. 10, 6, 10, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, all of them competing at the same price. The pressure is back on for the Legion, and I think we'll be going back down from this point. Here's the Loki chart, again reaching a bottom of 140, spiking up to 155. But I think at this point the market will have made its move. Yep, exactly. All of this above this is less than a day old, 21, 4, 3, and again quite a few orders of 2s coming in as well. So someone is trying to sell them at a better price, but they're already competing for the sell orders of the Lokis here. Next up, the Proteus. That one's actually pretty empty on the sell order side, so spiking up to 163, which is quite a bit higher than the other ones, and pretty empty. I'm expecting the supply to be here by next week, honestly. So if you have some Protea, you can still try to sell them for a better price. But I think by next week, that will be gone. All of this will have been filled up with new sell orders here. And then finally we have the Tengu, which is pretty much a week ahead of the Proteus, spiked up to 170. But the pressure is clearly on. You can see that here on the chart. And then supply-wise, yeah, the entire front page still less than a day old, still less than a day old. We have to go back pretty much half a page, and here we find 16, 23, 11, quite a few more orders here competing with each other. So the Tenko is on its way back down. The Proteus will probably be back down by next week. And that's just life in the tech tree market at the moment. Any increase in price due to a big buyout gets snuffed out very quickly by the huge industrial potential in wormhole space at the moment. And then finally we're going to touch on the fuels. That's going to be 3025. Why fuels? Because I want to keep you guys in the loop. I saw something really interesting in the Citadel thread on Reddit, and I want to keep you guys up to date on that. So let's first take a look at the trends. Here is the MR fuel blocks being pretty stable at 16,000, which is high for the last 6 months, but from 15 to 16,000, not that drastic. Here is the Caldaris. These are taking off, and that's a little bit worrying, heading towards 19,000. I also put these in the ticker. They went up almost 20% in 2 weeks. Let's hope that they pull back, but otherwise this could be very bad news. Next up here, the Galente, still 16,000, pretty stable around that, so that's okay. And then here we've got Minmatar, 16,000 as well. So the Caldari fuel blocks is a worrying sign. What did I read there that I felt was really interesting? Although I'm not entirely sure that this is correct, so put this in the speculation basket. But the fuels for the Citadels, although depending on use of services there, will should be produced by goods that encompass all the products needed to make all the fuels. And this will, if this is true, it will put huge pressure on the existing fuel blocks, because that's going to take away quite a bit of supply on the production side of things. And so it is interesting. I've read that there are definitely people hoarding their fuel blocks, being ready for that increase in price. So it's just something that rang true with me, because we have no idea how many Citadels will be made, how quickly, how much they'll be used, how much fuel they'll use. All of that is of course big speculation, but we do know with relative certainty that the production of their fuel is going to be something different. But if it is going to be tied by all the products used in the production of our current fuel blocks, so all of these the same PI goods and the same ice mining goods, unless CCP comes out with a bit of a rebalance on the ice mining at least, and I don't think there's anything they can do for PI, you can expect much higher prices for those goods and for the current fuel blocks. Unless of course there's also displacement of POS activity, but I've not read anything in line with that yet. And yeah, it's a very interesting given. It's a market to keep a close eye on, and potentially for speculation, if you want to take a big gamble on something that could be drastically affected by news and possibly the actual deployment of the next expansion, of the Citadel expansion. I'm not sure if that's going to be the name, but the theme is definitely going to be the Citadels. Then keep an eye on fuel blocks and on all the products that are used to produce those, because there could be major impact due to the changes that CCP are going to do when it comes to the Citadels on this one. It's definitely something I'm going to do, and I wanted to keep the EVE Talk watchers in the loop of this. It is something that could potentially make you or lose you a lot of money. Anyways, that's it for this week then, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.